Hello and welcome to episode 24 of the Sportscast podcast. Today we will have a look at the weekend's Premier League, a little bit of the Championship and the FA Cup, the Cricket World Cup, and we discuss England's performance and then a look back at the Mexico Grand Prix and forward for the Brazilian, whilst having a little conversation around how the constructors title should be competed. Jordan, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Very well, thanks. Yourself?
I am good, thank you.
Good. I think I'd like to come to F1 last because of a couple of talking points around that. So, kick us off. Manchester United, it's been a weird week for them. They picked up a result yesterday that arguably shouldn't have had.
It's weak, yeah. 1-0 against Fulham is weak after getting absolutely battered at the weekend.
Yeah, and they lost obviously last weekend. They lost midweek 3-0 to Newcastle in the EFL Cup. And yes, it's the EFL Cup, and they started with Martial up top. It's probably not their main 11, but there just seems to be in a bit of turmoil at the minute. They don't seem to. People saying it's the owners, and I think it was Paul Pogba when he left was saying about how the condition of the club, they're not doing the right things within the bigger picture.
No, I think they are going through a tough time at the moment, like in terms of ownership and where they sit and where they like that kind of thing. I mean, they've not had the best of few seasons, last 3 or 4 seasons. It's not been fantastic for them. Whether they get some stability now, but even so, the Glazers are still involved. There's like the club is owned by multiple different parties with multiple different voting rights. I just can't see them getting any stability anytime soon. I think Manchester United fans were hoping for a complete buyout. And the only person kind of rich enough to do that, or like silly rich enough to do that, would be the Saudis.
Yeah, and they pulled out, and I guess that's because of probably how the Glazers wanted the purchase to go through.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Tottenham, absolutely flying. I was watching A League of Their Own at the weekend.
Yes.
And they had James Maddison on.
Yes.
Who's obviously a relatively new signing to Tottenham. And he's doing fantastic, playing really, really well. Genuine, pretty cool guy as well. I'm watching him on, like I say, on A League of Their Own. They're currently sitting second, 1 point behind City, with one less match played. So potentially, do we see Tottenham fighting, or do we see them shitting themselves for Christmas?
I think Chelsea are 6s and 7s at the minute, so Chelsea beating 4-0. That's the kind of thing that will happen. I was talking to a Spurs fan today, actually, and I think they'll shit themselves. I think they'll lose to a Brighton or something daft like that, and not fizzle out, but like you say, I saw that episode of League of Their Own, and with James Maddison saying what Ange is like, and it seems that he's bringing the right thing to Tottenham, and like we've said in the past, not having Kane has probably opened them up a little bit.
Exactly.
And let's just take a minute for Harry Kane. 15 goals in 10 games at Bayern Munich so far this season. Yeah. Another hat-trick scored yesterday.
Yeah, and some of them, like most of them, are belters as well. I think he chipped. I think I saw one recently where he chipped the keeper from like 45 yards out.
He scored from his own half last week. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Tottenham. I think they'll do better than Arsenal. I think Arsenal last year did very well without European football. This year, that's going to catch up on them, the same as what Spurs are doing this year without European football.
Yeah.
Once a week. So, but who knows? We also saw Arsenal drop points yesterday by losing to Newcastle in, again, dubious VAR fashion.
Yeah, definitely. Anything on the FA Cup?
Yeah, quite a
pretty tasty round, wasn't it? Some really, really good scorelines. Did you see Swindon Town versus Aldershot?
Yeah, but I believe Swindon are in a bit of turmoil as well at the minute. But to concede 7 at home, regardless of what position your club's in, is atrocious.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bristol Rovers played 7th tier Whitby. Obviously, Bristol came off on top. Marine in the 7th tier against Harrogate. Again, Harrogate came off good, but you saw 8th tier Ramsgate beat National League Woking, so that was probably the biggest upset from the weekend.
Yes, yeah.
This evening sees Charlton play, get ready for this, Cray Valley Paper Mills.
Okay.
So they sound almost, sort of Sunday League-esque, don't they?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. England knocked out of the World Cup to the Australians yesterday.
Saw this, yeah. Mm-hmm.
They've had a pretty terrible World Cup. Lost, they bowled Australia out pretty well yesterday. 200 and, dare I say, was it 80 something?
Yeah.
And then they lost by 33 runs. So they've had a pretty atrocious World Cup, even by anyone's standards in reality. So they just, I don't know, they don't. There doesn't seem to be a new crop of players coming through for England at the minute. Probably,
No.
I can't. The argument has been said that they don't play enough 50 over cricket, and that's because they play the 100.
Yeah, no.
I've said it a few times.
India still being the absolute favourites, but it's a very embarrassing scene for England, where basically the entire kind of British Empire is better at us than cricket.
Yes,
and we introduced the game to the world.
Yeah. Quick one on golf. Tiger Woods and Roy McIlroy have created a league.
Okay.
Starting in the new year, which, and it's all a bit early days. I believe what I've read, it's going to be indoor. So it's going to be an indoor course.
What, like crazy golf?
I don't know.
Is there going to be a windmill?
You never know at the minute, do you, with where golf is going?
No, seems strange. I don't know how they can do an indoor golf course.
No. Very weird. Rugby, Wayne Barnes, the England referee who officiated last weekend's final, is retired. What a way to go out, refereeing the World Cup final. He's had a massive career, so that'll be interesting. Sort of see. I know he's got a book already released, but it'll be interesting to sort of see what he does. He'll probably do a lot of punditry because he's a very well respected referee.
Yeah, definitely.
Lee Halfpenny had his final game for Wales yesterday against the Barbarians, which saw Alan Wynne-Jones play for. I don't know how much you know around this. Barbarians is always almost like an all-star team, if you like. So Alan Wynne-Jones is retiring, so he's the captain, and he picks his, I want him from this team, him from that team, and you sort of tend to get. So there's like New Zealand, Fiji, and Eddie Jones was the manager. So it's a bit of it's always played in good faith and good humour in the game, but it was a good opportunity for Wales to put some youngsters on the pitch ready for the Six Nations, which is only a few months away now, thankfully, sort of 4 months away. So,
yeah.
Formula One. So we're finishing up. Well, we'll start with the ending of last weekend from Mexico.
Yes, so the Grand Prix was on really late from Mexico, but it was quite a thrilling one, to be honest with you. Obviously, quite clearly, again, Max Verstappen won. 13 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton and 23 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc. Ferrari did a pretty decent job last week, to be quite honest with you, 3rd and 4th. The big one for me the return of Daniel Ricciardo, and straight back into the points, 6 points,
Yeah.
finished in second position for AlphaTauri, who before, I mean, in fact, I think they do actually still sit bottom of the constructors. But as it stands, Daniel Ricciardo is having a pretty good comeback.
Yeah. It's I think what you get with Ricardo, you get consistently good. You don't get an Ocon or a Gasly that has just popped up and won a race here and there. With Danny Ricky, when he's been at these sort of lower teams at McLaren, he had a bit of a bum deal at McLaren, but he's just consistently good. He's never,
is.
He's not going to light it up or anything like that. He's just consistently good.
Yes, I agree. And I think, unfortunately, this is where. So coming on to this week, Sergio Perez is the rumours in between Mexico and Brazil. The rumour mill has started to turn around Sergio Perez's future, and I think in previous season, Sergio Perez has been a rock. He's been the guy that will consistently get you second. He'll consistently kind of not back up Max, because they all race in their own right. And in the first half of this season, we've seen Checo Perez win a couple of quite a few races, including street circuits. But you do need, and Christian Horner, and every good team needs a really good second.
Yes.
So I just wanted to, just a bit of monologue for a second, is the way that kind of the rumour mill goes with Formula One is you never really know what is going to happen from time to time. And we usually have a period where it's silly season. So in the off season, we have drivers switching round, and we have rumours where people sign new contracts, people don't sign new contracts, and a few years, in fact, last year there was where Oscar Piastri was supposed to sign for Alpine and then didn't sign for Alpine. But it just seems odd that we've gone through that silly season, and now all of a sudden there's two drivers' futures at stake, with real substance behind it. The first one is obviously Checo Perez. The second one is Logan Sargent. Logan Sargent's had a really, really poor time, and I just think he deserves his place in Formula One, but he needed another couple of years in Formula 2 or as a test driver or something to be able to get his head round the car and the way that it handles, because he's made some really, really silly mistakes.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to touch on is there's something else called the World Destructors Championship, and I know we're going to talk about the World Constructors Championship very shortly, but there's also something called the World Destructors Championship, and this basically shows how much each individual driver has cost the team through crashes, and accidents and incidents. Do you know who the number one person is?
It's got to be Yuki Tsunoda.
It is Logan Sargent.
Oh, it is him himself, surely.
$3.9 million. The guy in second place will shock you.
I'm going to say... Could it be like Alonso?
Checo.
Oh, really?
$3.1 million.
What's he done?
He's binned the car quite a few times. He binned it in Monaco.
Is this Red Bull cooking the numbers again?
Well, it might be. Yeah, you never know. He binned it in Monaco. He binned it in Austria. He completely wrote the car off in Austria. He crashed last week in Mexico. So he's had, just from recent memory, he's had quite a few bumps and scrapes and crashes already. So
yeah,
I'll read the top 10 super quick. So Logan Sargent, Sergio Perez, Lance Stroll in third, Pierre Gasly in fourth, Esteban Ocon in fifth, Kevin Magnussen in sixth, which is really bad considering Haas are not the richest team in the world. Alexander Albon in seventh, Oscar Piastri in eighth, and then the two Ferraris, ninth and 10th. The person who has cost the least amount of money is, of course, Max. Max hasn't had cash. I mean, I don't know what that $220,000. So
a new front wing, maybe.
Possibly a new front wing, yeah, or maybe it's repairing the plasterboard in the dressing room after Jos Verstappen's punched through the walls. So maybe it's that, I don't know. But
Or the FA, yeah.
So pretty decent. Do you want to touch on the constructors? Because I know you've got a point to make about the constructors.
Yeah, I saw something midweek, and obviously Constructors Championship built up around, so they add the two drivers' points together at the end of a race, and they add it to the constructors, and I think that's okay. But I think generally, I'd have to do some more research into this, but I can't think of the last time that a team won the constructors that didn't have their driver win the title, especially in the modern era. 25 points for a race win, 18 for second, whereas years gone by it was 10, 8, 7. You know, it was a different point system. So, like, if you took, I'd loved one of these people out there on Twitter or anything like that to do with this and go back over every race this year and look at, if you was to point them differently. So look at who gets the most points of the race. So let's say Max got 20, like last week, for instance, in Mexico, Perez binned it. Max got 26 for 25 for winning the race. I don't know if he got the bonus point, but for argument's sake, we'll say he didn't. Who was second? Ferrari was third and fourth.
Yes.
So they would have accumulated more than 25 points.
So therefore, they would be awarded 25 points of the constructors.
Or if you just did like 10, and then
whichever team accumulates the most points
that weekend
gets 10 points.
Gets 10 points.
Gets the second gets 9.
Second points get 9, and so on and so on. And I just think then it becomes the team effort as opposed to what it is now of let's get maximum points for one driver and let's just see what the next one sweeps up.
Yes.
So that's how Red Bull run it in the minute. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Red Bull had a 1-2 season in individual standings. They look like it could happen now with Perez sat second and gaining on Lewis yesterday, but I don't know. It just seems that would it make it not more fair but more entertaining to see it? Where
I think it would, because what we're looking at the moment is Red Bull have run away with both championships.
There's a very strong chance they would have won it this year if someone goes back and has a look.
I don't know, because they had a really strong first half of the season, but when Mercedes sorted their shit out, Mercedes have performed consistently top 6.
First 4 races of the year, Aston Martin might have been up there,
Well, exactly.
So it could have. The only team that has consistently been at the top has been Red Bull, but it's not really been a team effort, that. But yeah, I don't know. I just think, after the summer break, Max didn't exactly come back and it hasn't been winning by 30 seconds. But I don't know. I just think, would it make for more entertainment and a bit more of a fairer way of doing it?
They've won it already. They've already won it. But we're talking about now, and I think at Brazilian Grand Prix the answer will be yes. Even though Lance Stroll had a really good qualifying session, and Alonso had a really good qualifying session thanks to the rain. But I think
are we just going to call that rain? Monsoon.
Absolute fucking torrential, like worst thing that's ever happened since Noah.
It looked like the end was coming, didn't it?
It did. And actually, it kind of ruined it because actually everybody got one banker lapping, and obviously Max properly caned it out of the pits and caned it out of the...
What was your thoughts on that, quickly? Because
I don't know the technical regulations. I don't know if you're meant to or not. I assume you're not meant to overtake in the pit lane, but then he hasn't been penalised.
So the argument is you're not meant to do it. You're not allowed to do it in the... There was specific wording, and it was around pit lane. But what they've done this weekend, you've got the line as you come out the pit lane, but then you've got the safety car line, and they've called that line so you've got the end of the pit lane, and you've got the pit exit.
Yes,
that's what they're saying. But they've also said that if anyone's driving slow in the pit lane, that they are to drive slow on the left-hand side, and you can overtake as long as it's safe.
In like fallout of last week, when both Verstappen and George Russell literally parked in the pit lane to get free air.
Well, yeah, and Max did it a few races ago, didn't he? He didn't start. He didn't go. But I don't know. It didn't seem safe for me because he did push his way through. Don't get me wrong, but he did have a wheel on the grass. Well, what happens when an F1 car dips the wheel onto the grass? What happens 9 times out of 10?
Yeah, wheel spin, lot of smoke,
and you're in the wall. Well, he's done that in the pit lane, and I just don't think that's safe. And and I understand why he's done it, but it does seem, and I said this to you earlier, I'm really falling out a little bit with Formula One at the minute because the changing rules week on week to counteract things that are happening the week before that they're not really sure and not clear on. And then the changing rules mid-season, they just seem to. I'm not saying they do it to benefit Max because I'm not. We know that I'm not Max's fan, but it just seems to be that something that happens against Max will change the rule to not to suit him, but so that it doesn't happen again.
Well, can I give you a perfect example? They widened the corner at Circuit of the Americas on turn 19 because Max got a lap time deleted, so they widened the corner.
They painted a thing on. Well, yeah. Why? You just don't have a regulation on that corner if you're so. But do you see what I mean?
Or equally apply it.
Yeah. So because he went over, loads of drivers went over. Because he went over, they've got to paint to the wider line.
Yeah, exactly.
It does.
I can't actually remember my original point before we got into qualifying. What was I talking about?
God knows, but yeah, it does just seem a little bit. Let's move. No, because I don't want to be that guy, but there's a lot of inconsistencies in how and when the rules are applied.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I just there's no offense to anybody listening out there that kind of like dips the toe into Formula One now and again. I'm into Formula One in a big way, and I follow it like that's my primary sport. There's a lot of Drive to Survive fans that just want to see kind of drama and racing, and I hope that the owners of Formula One are not, which I know they are, moving towards more of a show rather than a sport, if that makes sense.
So, not to digress again a little bit, and we've discussed this around Vegas in the past, but they've even, where they've taken the trees down and things, and they've now built a grandstand in front of the Bellagio so you can't with the fountains. And I saw today as well, they've now drained the water out the front of the Venetian.
The Venetian. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to build a grandstand. So they just seem to be. Let's see how that one goes.
Did you tell me this last week? I don't know if you told me this or not. If you didn't, then I'm going to tell you that Formula One have got they have got a main stake in in Las Vegas or not? Did you tell me or did not?
No.
Okay, so the all the other tracks, every track in the world, they pay Formula One between $20 and $50 million. It was in dollars. For the right to hold a event on the Formula One calendar. And obviously they then generate revenue through selling tickets and selling food and all that kind of stuff. The Las Vegas Grand Prix is different. So rather than Silverstone, for example, paying Formula One for
the 35 million or whatever they pay, yeah.
Exactly. The Formula One are actually that they are not the middleman anymore. They are the race organisers and event organisers and everything like that. So they have a direct kind of. I don't know it really super deep financials around it, but they are making more margin basically on the Las Vegas Grand Prix.
So
because some of the tickets are ridiculous.
So could this be then what they're going to try and do across multiple races to increase?
Possibly, but that means like taking races away from
Austria or Belgium or
I would class those as proper tracks. I would class those as motoring legacy tracks. We've been racing in places like Spa since like Formula One's birth.
The 50s, yeah. So shall we cover Brazil next week after the race?
Yes, it starts in 10 minutes at the time of recording, so we look forward to see whether the Max will win again or whether Aston Martin will shit themselves. The answer to both of those questions will be
next
yes.
week.
But yes.
Good week.
Take care.
See you later. Thanks for joining us this week on the Sportscast podcast. Join us again next week where we potentially have a new co-host. And as usual, you'll get us on Sportscast Pod UK on X, aka Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you.